Good morning. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Em, and earlier this week, Kayla over at Books and Lala posted this video where she read the first chapter of every single unread book on her TBR, which was very awesome and also intimidating. And I'm not going to do that because I still have like 120 something books on my TBR. But I was thinking that would be a great idea for putting together my middle grade March TBR, which middle grade March starts a week from today. And I need to start figuring out what books I want to read for that. And I have 10 unread middle grade books in my house. With credit to Kayla, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to read the first, I hate that hole in, just pretend that's not there. I can't even block it out. There we go. Pretend that hole is not there in my bookshelf. Anyways, I think that's what I'm going to do for this video. I'm going to read a chapter from each of my unread middle grade books, figure out what it's about, figure out if I am still interested in reading it, because some of these I've had for a very, very long time. Like some of these are from when my daughter and I used to get Owl Crate Junior boxes, which was pre-pandemic? No, that can't be right. Anyways, they've been here for a long time. That's what we're going to do. However, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of like continuity in this video because I will probably not sit down and do it all in one go. There are some chores that desperately need to get done in my house, and I would like to work out today and, you know, stuff like that. I'm not going to spend my whole day reading. Yeah, I guess we'll just get into it. All right, so the first book on the stack is Bright Storm by Vashti Hardy. All I remember about this one is that it has boy-girl twins. And that's all I know. So let's see what it's about. Okay, I read the first chapter of Bright Storm. That was kind of a sad beginning. So we meet Arthur and Maddie, who are twins, and Arthur has a mechanical arm. It sounds like Maddie's kind of like a tinkerer in training because she is trying to, like, they're bantering back and forth as he's trying to do something and she's distracted by trying to figure out how to make his mechanical arm more efficient. They live in their house, and their housekeeper is taking care of them. It honestly kind of has like Little Princess vibes at the beginning because this housekeeper isn't very kind, and she's pretty sharp with them. And a visitor comes and tells them that their father, who's been in an expedition, has perished and the children are now orphans. And that's our first chapter. So kind of sad, but I did really like the way like Arthur and Maddie bantered back and forth with each other. I'm pretty positive they are going to go on an expedition to find their father. And yeah, so I'm going to put it in the very intrigued and would like to continue pile. Okay, I'm going to go and do kind of my like responsible person stuff, but the next book that I'll read when I sit down to do this again will be Anya and the Dragon by Sophia Pasternak. This might be the one I've had on my shelf the longest. This is Russian-inspired fantasy, I believe, but I don't really remember anything other than that. But like, I have been circling this book ever since it came out. I love the cover so much. I think it's so pretty. But I've just never prioritized picking it up. So I'm gonna go probably, ooh, and the print's nice and big too. Love middle grade. Not just for that reason. So yeah, I'm gonna read first chapter of this, but I also need to like do the dishes and do a little bit of a workout. So I'm gonna go do that, and then I'll read this chapter and then probably shower, and then I'll come back and do an update. Okay, apologies for the horrid lighting. It is so dark here today and overcast, and I could go turn on a light, but I am very comfy and cozy and I don't want to move. But I read chapter 1 of Anya and the Dragon. And this is set, I feel like, in Russia, like medieval-ish times. And it sounds like it's our world, but with magic. Use of magic's been outlawed for 10 years. But Anya's father and grandfather both have animal magic, and her mother has plant magic. Her father is not with them because he has been conscripted into the military for the Tsar. Anya is trying to get a very cantankerous goat to stay in the barn. And so she gets him in the barn. She goes to take something to her mother and is attacked by a poisonous snake. And during that confrontation realizes her magic is manifesting in that moment. And then there's like all this like chaos ensues during the confrontation with the snake. I don't know. I wasn't super intrigued. Like, putting it down at the end of the first chapter was fine. I wasn't chomping at the bit to know what happens next. The reason I keep hanging on to this book and wanting to read it is because it has dragons in it. And I am a big time sucker for dragons. So I don't know. I'll put it in the maybe pile, I guess, and then see how many are in the absolutely pile. Okay, next up is The Dark Lord Clementine by Sarah Jean Horowitz. I actually bought this one for my middle kid last year, and I don't think she's interested in it, but I am very much interested in it. I know about it is I think our main character, Clementine, is training to be a villain, and then like throughout the course of the book maybe decides she doesn't want to be a villain after all. Okay, that was a super short chapter, but it was really fun. Clementine's father is a Dark Lord, and one day she notices that he is like slowly being chipped away. Like his nose is just ever so slightly shorter. His fingers like slowly get shorter and whittled until into finer points, until like one day his pinky finger gets so small that it just kind of like pops off his hand and lands in the soup tureen, and then they eat the soup anyways. So I really like that. That was weird. It was, you know, funny in a dark way, but I like a dark funny. Anyways, yeah, it was really cute. Liked it. I will definitely be reading this in March. Okay, and now for a completely different vibe. Next up is Murder is Bad Manners by Robin Stevens. This is book 1 in the Wells and Wong mystery series, and this is historical mystery for middle grade. I've heard really excellent things about it. When I worked at a bookstore, this was one of the staff recs, and I'm really excited to see what the writing is like and meet the characters. I just, fingers crossed, it hits the boxes for me. Okay, that was another super quick chapter. It was only 2 pages, and this is written in the form of a casebook, so it's like journal entries from Hazel's perspective, and Hazel and her best friend Daisy have set up their very own detective agency to solve cases at their, I think it's a boarding school, but it has such a fun narrative voice. I love how it's structured, and there was like a really great paragraph because Daisy's talking about how she's like the Watson of their duo, and Daisy, did I say Hazel? Hazel is saying she's the Watson of the group and Daisy is their Sherlock, and then she says That's why it's so funny that it was me who found Miss Bell's dead body. In fact, I think Daisy is still upset about it, though of course she pretends not to be. Anyways, so I just thought that was so fun. I'm really glad that that first chapter lived up to my expectations for what to expect in this. Okay, next up is The Doldrums. This is by Nicholas Gannon. This is very impulse purchase, if I remember correctly. I think we were on like a day trip and there was an indie bookstore and I went in, and I try to always buy something if I go into a small shop, just because I know how important sales are. And I looked through this one real quick, and it is set up a little bit differently. There's chapters, but then there are sections in the chapters, and there's a ton of illustrations, it looks like, and like letters and all sorts of stuff. So I think I'm just gonna read the first little bit. It might not be a full chapter, and then see what I think. I read almost the whole first chapter of The Doldrums, and this was reminding me of, I think, The Borrowers a little bit. It's like a narrator telling you the story of Archie, and his grandparents are fairly renowned explorers and naturalists, and they've been on an expedition Archer's whole life. And Archer is a dreamer, and there's like these things where he's talking to these animals that live in his house, and it's not entirely sure if they are real or if they're figments of his imagination. He gets presents from his grandparents periodically, and on his, oh, I already forgot what birthday it is. His 9th birthday, he wakes up and there's an article in the newspaper saying his grandparents have disappeared. I think the rest of the book is him going on an expedition to find his grandparents. So it's really cute, very charming writing, and I think this will be a fun book to read. So with that one read, that chapter read, I'm halfway through the stack, and I think I'm gonna call it quits for today, because I would like to read one of the things I'm already in the middle of, and then save the other 5 for tomorrow. I do know that there are 2 books that I'm going to be getting from the library for middle grade March. I'm going to be getting book 4 in the Myrtle Hardcastle series from the library. That's one of my favorite middle grade series. And it's one of the few that I don't buy. Like, I have book 1, but I almost always read them from the library, specifically on audio. I think the audio is really fun. And then I'm also going to get an Ashley Herring Blake middle grade from the library. I think Sunny St. James is the one that I still have to read. I think I've read all the other ones. This was kind of a fun thing to start doing. It makes me even more excited to read my long neglected middle grade books. So, yay, I'll see you tomorrow. Good morning. It's day 2 of this video, and as I'm sure you saw, we have a snow day. So today is going to go a little differently than I had imagined, because the kids don't have school, I don't have work. Dance for one of my kiddos has been canceled, but I'm gonna try and keep going with my little middle grade project and get it done. So the next book I'm going to read the first chapter of is The Extraordinary Adventures of Alice Tonks. This is by Emily Kenny, and this is about Alice, who is going to a boarding school, and she is nervous about whether or not she will make any friends because she's autistic. And I think there's also like talking animals, and there's a mystery, and that's all I know. So we are going to jump right in. I'm going to read chapter 1, and then I'll come back and tell you what I think. Okay, that was a fun first chapter. We meet Alice and her grandma. It is orientation day for her new school. Alice is masking hard to try to get through the day, but she just has too many, it's like sensory overload, and she yells at her grandma and draws a lot of attention from all these strangers, and so she runs away and to go calm down, and this very nice boy named Tim brings her a chocolate ice cream cone, and they have a really sweet, very awkward interaction, and then he leaves and Alice is left eating her ice cream, and the seagull comes down and says, "Alice Tonks, we have a job for you." So that was a great start. I'm super curious to find out what the mystery is and how these talking animals that apparently only Alice can hear. I did not get the impression that anybody else can talk to animals, and that talking animals are even a thing that like Alice knew about prior to the seagull speaking to her. So yeah, that was fun. Okay, my kids are getting ready to go outside in the snow. So real quick, this is The Chronicles of Crestomancy, Volume 1 by Deanna Wynne Jones. She is the author of Howl's Moving Castle, which is one of my favorite books. And this is a bind up of the first 2 books in this series. And I know nothing about this series. Honestly, I bought it because the cover's pretty. There's a dragon, and it's by Deanna Wynne Jones. So I will read chapter 1 and then give you an update. Okay, so much has happened in my life and in the book. Just had all the drama of getting everyone layered up outside, and then they realize that snow is cold and wet and horrible, and then they all come inside and we have to take off all the cold and wet things. Ugh. Anyways, it's just, I hate snow so much. Anyways, a lot happened in the first chapter of this too. I don't know that I love it. Actually, I know I don't love it. This starts off it's about Cat and his sister Gwendolyn, and their parents are killed in a really tragic boating accident, and there are very few survivors. Cat and Gwendolyn being 2 of them. And they are taken in by a witch in their village, but there's this really weird relationship with magic. Like, the people who have magic like use it, and then the people who don't have magic are really distrustful of those that have it. And Gwendolyn, they realize, has a lot of magic, and so they get her lessons from the worst necromancer in town. I did think that was funny. But Gwendolyn's pretty horrible in the way that she talks to Cat, in the way that she talks to the other people that are taking care of them. It just, I don't know. I really like Deanna Wynne Jones, but I don't know that this is the book for me of hers. So it's gonna go in the maybe pile along with Anya and the Dragon. Man, let me tell you, this is an undertaking, and I'm only doing 10 books. I don't know how Kayla did this with 100 books. My brain would melt out of my ears. If I had to read that many first chapters, it would not be pretty. It would not be a good time for anybody. So even more impressed that she took on that project. Okay, I have 3 books left. And I think I'm gonna listen to this next one on audio. It's Force of Fire by Sunyatani Dasgupta. I don't think I said that right. This is South Asian inspired fantasy. Oh look, I've read this. I've gotten to chapter 3. This is another book that my daughter picked out because we had just finished the Aru Shah series, and we had read Kiki Kalira by oh, I just forgot the author's name. I'll put it there. We'd read that one. And so she was really into a South Asian fantasy thing. And so we got this, and then I don't know why we didn't continue with it, but I do want to read it. And the audio is on Hoopla. So I'm going to read the first chapter of this or listen to the first chapter of this while I do some dishes. And I have no idea what it is about, aside from, I think it's a Save the World book. I remember. Probably a Save the World book. Wait. Okay, it's fine. It's book 1 in the series. I got nervous that it wasn't book 1. So pretty sure this is a world is gonna end. I must save it. And I'm pretty sure she's a demon. If those horns tell me anything about this book, it's that I think our heroine is part demon. So anyways, I'm gonna go listen to chapter 1 and I'll report back. All right, you know what I like? I like an angry main character. And Pinky has a lot of anger issues and I was kind of into it. Pinky is a Rakush, which is a demon. And she goes to like demon school and does not get along with any of her classmates. She's pretty antagonistic. They don't like her either. So it's pretty contentious. And she also isn't super great at controlling her firepower, which is a problem because she keeps setting school property on fire. So she's got a lot of stuff going on. And the setup of this is basically just showing you the type of person Pinky is. And I was into it. I liked her a lot. I also like the narrator. I have found that I really like reading South Asian and mythology inspired fantasies. I like listening to them on audiobook because then I don't have to guess at how words are pronounced. The lovely narrators say them for me and it's great. And I love audiobooks. So yeah, this will definitely be an audiobook listen because it was such a good first chapter, especially on audio. And the second to last book that I'm going to be reading the first chapter of is The Last Shadow Warrior by Sam Subidi, something like that. And this is a Viking inspired mythology. I think this is kind of like Percy Jackson, but with Viking gods and goddesses instead of Greek gods and goddesses. So that's all I know. I have the Alcrate edition. I think the last 2 books actually are both from Alcrate Jr. So yeah, we'll give this a shot and see how it goes. You know, sometimes I think there's a reason why books sit on our shelves unread for a really long time. This was fine. It feels like a story that's already been told. So I don't know that I'm going to keep it on my shelf. But first chapter, we meet Abby. Abby's 12. Her mother has been dead for 4 years. And so it's just her and her dad. And she is from a long line of Viking warriors who are responsible for protecting the world from monsters. But you can't actually start training to be one of these warriors until you're 14. So Abby still has a couple of years left. And she and her dad have a little bit of a conversation about that and about her mom being gone. And then he leaves to go get ice cream to cheer them up with. And then while he's gone, somebody breaks into Abby's house. And that's really all we learn. And I don't know. It didn't spark a lot of joy. We'll just say that. It didn't spark a lot of joy. So this is going to go into the maybe pile. And the 10th and final book I am going to read from is Strange Worlds Travel Agency by L.D. Lipinski. That was a lot of words. Yep. So I don't know anything about this either, other than it's fantasy. So I will check this out and see what it's about. The dust jacket thingy says, at the Strange Worlds Travel Agency, each suitcase transports you to a different world. All right, last one done. So in the first chapter of Strange Worlds Travel Agency, we don't meet our main character, but we do get introduced to the travel agency and to Jonathan, who runs the travel agency. And there are these suitcases, and you can go through a suitcase into another part of the world, and you see two people who are, I believe, travel agents come back from a world, and they're supposed to have gone through and like taken notes and gotten more information, and they kind of bungled the whole thing. And so Jonathan scolds them and sends them on their way. And there's something about magnifying glasses, but I don't know how the magnifying glasses are going to play into the story or what role they really play. But it was fun. It was funny. Jonathan is very prickly, so I think he'll be a fun character. And I'm curious enough to want to keep going and find out what adventure exactly is going to happen to our main character. So all in all, I have 3 books that I will be unhauling. That just didn't do it for me on that first chapter. I wasn't intrigued enough to keep going. So I'll be taking the Chronicles of Crestomancy, Anya and the Dragon, maybe, and the Lash Out a Warrior to a little free library. And then these 7 books are going to be going on my middle grade TBR and middle grade March TBR, and as well as that Ashley Herring Blake book, the Elizabeth C. Bunce book. And I think that will make for a fun month of reading. So if you have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the time that you choose to spend with me so much. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a good rest of the day, the week, the month, and that you do not have snow. I wish all of you a no snow February. Okay, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.